All right, and we are live. So good morning, everybody, and those of you in the YouTube chat, let us know if the audio is okay. All right, and we are live. Got to mute some stuff here. All right, I think everything looks good though. At least we got video on YouTube. I'm not monitoring the audio, so. How's everybody doing today?
Oh, not too bad.
Yeah, I made a trip to McDonald's to get a cup of coffee and a McMuffin, so I feel pretty good too.
Is it just me, or every once in a while there's a bit of a sound like?
There's some popping.
Bit of static.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear that too. Let me mute my phone.
Let's see.
I got one of these handy dandy smartphone things. Prior to this, I was actually using an old flip phone that I've had for over 10 years. But AT&T, my carrier, or at least the towers that my carrier uses, decided that they're going voice over LTE only. So the old edge network in my area no longer works. So I had to get one of these things. And the Pine Phone and the Librem 5 do not support voice over LTE either. So I have to use this proprietary garbage.
Really, you have to use voice over LTE?
Yeah, it is voice over LTE only. There is no such thing as a 3G network in my local area.
So you have no GSM or CSD or whatever it's called, the other one? Wow.
Yeah, it sucks.
I never have a good luck with voice over LTE. I have it on my phone, but I have it disabled because it sucks. Either it's my service provider have a bad, but otherwise I don't know.
Yeah, and
I always have problems with that, and everyone who I know has problems with that. I had to disable that for quite many people now.
The big thing is that this phone also had enabled by default voice over Wi-Fi as well.
Yeah.
Which is even worse than voice over LTE.
Actually, that worked better for me than voice over LTE.
Well, I have a DSL internet connection.
Oh,
my upload is literally 2 megabytes per second. So this video stream that you're watching right now is literally maxing out my internet connection. I had to close everything else.
I also have 2 megabytes per second, but seems to be fine. Or I might have 3 megabytes per second upload.
Yeah.
That's 30 something megabit. It seems fine even for like more complex streaming stuff like to YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably using something a bit thicker than a phone cable.
I'm using a fiber connection.
Yeah.
At 30 megabit per second.
And I think that that popping sound we're hearing, I think that's Hamid. He's trying to get his sound working, but it's not working for him. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I have been having some issues with Pulse Audio lately.
Really?
Where, it randomly borked the configuration file.
Really?
Yeah. So I have to delete. I have to delete my pulse.com file, reboot the computer, let it regenerate, delete it again, reboot the computer again. Because logging out and logging back in does not reset Pulse Audio. You have to hard reset the entire machine.
Yeah.
Restart the service?
I tried that. It doesn't work. I have to reboot the entire computer.
Wow.
I've had to do that before too. Sometimes just killing the daemon and restarting it doesn't solve your problems.
Yeah, lighted. I'm also using this on Fedora Rawhide right now because I'm a savage.
Whoa.
So I'm I'm using Pipewire as well. So I'm using beta software on top of buggy release software on top of more beta software.
But you're using Fedora with GNOME 40 with Wayland with Pipewire.
I'm actually using Fedora with DWM with Pipewire through Pulse Audio's latest beta release on a Linux beta kernel, which is touched literally by the hands of Linus Torvalds himself. I'm using the most pure version of the Linux kernel that possibly exists right now. I literally updated less than an hour ago.
There is a way to install vanilla kernels in Fedora.
Yeah.
You can install vanilla kernels really easily if you actually want to, but why would you?
Why wouldn't I?
I mean, you can always compile your own kernel.
The
any distro.
The biggest thing is this computer is wicked fast right now because the operating system that I'm using right now is running through a RAM disk.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing.
Why?
Why not?
You know, eventually you're going to get tired of this Linux thing because you seem like you seem like an OpenBSD kind of guy. I see you on OpenBSD soon.
I have not tried OpenBSD yet. That is going to be the next project when I'm done fooling around with Linux. And then the big thing is my next transition is going to be learning Btrfs. When I learn Btrfs through and through, then I will want to learn ZFS. And because of the way I am, I'm going to want to learn ZFS on the platform that's primarily intended for BSD. That's when I will use BSD.
No.
Yes.
ZFS isn't primarily intended for BSD.
It's on Solaris, isn't it?
Yeah, you can use it for Unix.
Intended for Solaris.
I will install
Primary
Solaris.
intended it's for Solaris.
Right.
Yes, I am in fact from Ohio.
Do not mix that up.
Me too.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure it was for Unix, the Unices. Various.
Well, it is.
Specifically
It is
Solaris.
the default file system on BSD.
Right.
Though, isn't it?
Yeah, nowadays. But
Well,
Actually, Open Indiana has the best version of ZFS right now.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's integrated to the file manager. It updates every 6 months automatically. What it does, it clones your ZFS system, applies the 250 so updates to the clone. If that works, it reboots your computer, switches the clone in your current system, and any time in the future you can switch it back. So it's quite well integrated into Open Indiana.
Okay.
Hey guys, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
We got you.
Oh, cool. Okay, great. Hey everyone.
There were some strange issues with your sound there.
Yeah, it's pulse audio. As Joshua said, it's needed to reboot it. Welcome to the club.
Well, we knew it was pulse audio. All right.
Yeah. It's so funny.
If you were using Jack, we would have known that too, because your sound still wouldn't have worked, but we wouldn't have got that annoying popping sound that we were getting instead. So,
Yeah. That's typical.
did you guys hear Ubuntu 2104 will have what's it called?
Wayland.
Wayland support, yeah, by default,
Yeah.
which is, while I am okay with that, I still think Wayland too early.
well, it doesn't matter on the interim releases. That's why you do
Yeah.
it with 2104, because
That-
if it's a complete and total
Yeah.
clown fest, then
Shit show.
right,
That's why it
you
was
just go back to
7-10.
Xorg.
That's why it was used on 7-10.
Right.
Yeah, I have the Wayland on the Debian seat. It's kind of nice and it's kind of broken altogether.
I cannot test it unless I'm running in a VM because I have
NVIDIA
graphics
cards,
card.
yeah. That's going to be the problem. Is
While
Yeah,
I
there-
could
there's
force it
nothing
through
for
Intel iGPU, I'm not
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah, I can assure you there is like tons of stuff is not going to work, including a team viewer or most of the sharing desktop
Well-
technologies.
Well, Ubuntu, I'm sure it's going to have it fall back to Xorg if your hardware's
Yeah.
not going to.
Yeah, it's already.
Yeah, for
As
C,
the
it's also a
fallback.
combination of the Xorg and the Wayland both together, so you can
Yeah,
as well switch to
X-Wayland.
the Xorg. Yeah.
But I actually don't need to worry about that because Ubuntu Mate won't switch to Wayland for probably couple of releases.
Yeah.
But I can tell the AMD performance is much better in the Wayland compared to the Xorg. It's much better. I have no lag. I have no screen tearing. It's much better in the Wayland, the AMD. But about the NVIDIA, I have no idea.
Newer, I would expect that it would be better experience since Wayland is so newer.
Yeah, of course.
Wayland is the future until Mir ships.
Yeah. Mir won't have that capability of being what is equivalent of XOR.
I thought
So,
I thought the
well,
Mir code
true.
has already been merged into Wayland anyway, hasn't it?
technically it's
somehow,
a
it's not all of it.
compositor for
Yeah.
Wayland. but at least for now, Ubuntu Mate won't be switching to Wayland because Mate doesn't work on Wayland. We're still working on that.
Yeah, which is leading me to a question I had since the beginning of using the Unix and Linux operating system, which why when we have a Xorg we need a Wayland?
Simply because
Have you looked
newer,
at
more
Xorg source
secure.
code?
Yeah.
I already looked
Xorg-
at. I already looked at. I know it's old. It's like history, but I mean, why not improving the code instead of forking it or creating a new one? That's my question always. Like
Xorg is basically 20, 30 years of code cobbled together year after year, and it will take
Let me ask
too
you
much
guys.
time
Let me
to get it working because there is not enough people who actually know what specific pieces of code actually still do.
let me ask
Yeah.
you guys
So
something.
it's mainly working on
Is anybody
fixing
here?
that.
Is anybody here running a piece of software that was started before the year 1986? Is anybody? I mean, unless you're an Emacs user or Vim user, VI user, whatever. There's a couple of things, but really,
Maybe.
why do we need to just scrap Xorg and start over? Is because that thing was written in the 80s,
That's the point.
the 1980s, right?
that's
Yeah.
the point. That's the point. What I mean is that we had these arguments before with Joshua about the GNOME desktop environment, stock user experience, which I said if it is working, then it's working. Why touch it again? I mean, I know there's like tons of terminals, tons of stuff, tons of teams, like everything else. But while the GNOME itself is working, while the Xorg is working, and I know it's a mess. I mean, it's like 23 years of the code.
I mean, we should go back to Windows version 1.
I made a promise.
We're
I'm
going
not
to go
supposed to
back
talk
to the
about GNOME
80s.
today.
Right? We should
Yeah.
go back to DOS.
Yeah, I mean, why touching it in the first place?
Right.
Basically, that's the point. That's why we're not improving Xorg. That's why Xorg is in maintenance mode because it is so much code and so much problems, so much everything layered on top of each other. It is a giant mess that shouldn't be touched again.
Well,
That's why we're making a replacement for it, not
and just look at
fixing that.
the last pull request on Xorg. When was that?
I think it was like maybe a year or two.
Yeah, but nobody really understands the code is the problem.
Nobody understands it.
Yeah.
Nobody's even trying to
Yeah.
even make an effort to support Xorg. And at this point, like even the one guy that was still maintaining Xorg has basically given up.
Well, it needs to be rewritten in Rust.
It's
Is the
in
problem.
maintenance mode. It's
Right.
basically
But
it's
it's inside all of the Linux distribution. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we have a huge Linux community here, which is benefit from the Xorg, and there's just one maintainer at the moment with the Xorg.
mainly
So-
because it's gone in maintenance mode. There are probably more before that, but now it's in maintenance mode. Only bug fixes that are serious bugs and security vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and consider
are
this:
fixed.
while we have a Wayland, like there is like, I think 65% plus of the software is not working with the Wayland at least.
Let
is
me
because
preface-
it's
let me
still
answer
big
your
bug.
question with
And
another question.
migration to incompatible platform, which is still under development. It just make really sounds really bad for Linux community.
There is a reason why a lot of stuff don't work with Wayland. There is a part of it is because how it's made in a completely different way. Part of it is security. It's made in a lot more secure way than Xorg with.
Sorry to interrupt you. Do not talk about the security in the Linux. I mean, it just really annoyed me when I mean I love the Linux. I've been using the Unix and Linux like 20 years plus, and whenever people talk about the Linux as a private operating system or privacy respecting operating system, I just have to laugh to them. The reason why is that there is an operating system layer. I'm sure. I mean, the Linux is open source. But how about the hardware itself? How about your router? How about your modem? How about your access point? How about the CPU, Intel Management Engine, AMD,
This is
TMP?
all true. This is all true. I'm not talking about the software itself is made in a much more safe and secure way.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Like
Yes,
when
it
I have
does.
my computer turned off, I see my external hard drive is blinking. I mean, why the hell you have to blink when it's off?
Actually, it does
Why are you
matter.
reading on my hard drive? Why? What's the reason?
Okay, let me pose your question. Why do you have locks on all your external doors?
it doesn't matter. Each door is two-way for me. As a hacker, as a white hat hacker, each door is two-way for me. You have your cell phone, which is Android. It's a spyware. You have your smart TV, which is a spyware. You have your computer aimed with the AMD or Intel. Both have a spyware, unless you spend $2,000 plus on a power CPU from the IBM, which then you're gonna end up with the non-compatible software. Or maybe you come with a crazy idea about having an ARM PC, which is come with lots of bug and security threat inside the system. So
ARM is my future server
let
platform.
me explain a literal security concept. What is security in reality? It's making the job for the person who wants to be the threat to you harder. That's how you eliminate threat. It
but you're always
totally securing yourself. It's about making the threat vector smaller. You can never
go there. Do not go there. Don't
I mean,
you can never make yourself 100% secure. The only way you can make 100% secure if you kill yourself.
What I'm saying is that it doesn't matter if you're on the Windows or on the Linux or on the
Unix.
Does. You already
does. No, you're not. Hacked. You're not.
You are.
That's a stupid concept that people think automatically once you have a computer you're hacked. Sorry, that's not how it works.
While we're on the security topic, let's go ahead. I know we got off of the Wayland discussion, but since we're on security,
if it's sudo, it's already been fixed.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I'm glad
it was fixed 2 years ago.
I'm glad somebody mentioned that. Have you updated your system? Because that's all I wanted to say. Because people were bugging me about that, and the
only system that needs updated is your server distribution. That is your CentOS and that is your Debian stable. That's the only one that needs updated. Your desktop operating system, which probably is not running either of those two operating systems, does not need updated at all.
Hey, I'm a SID user.
Yeah. Well, you're SID, though. You've already got it. You got the update. It's the stable version of Debian that's going to be.
Yeah, SID got that update 2 years ago.
Yeah, I am on a beta version of Ubuntu.
Because I'm getting people, going back and looking at my old videos about duaz as a replacement for sudo, and it's like,
to be fair, you should be using duaz.
I have it on my system. I also have to have sudo installed because Yay and Paru, the AUR helpers, both of them for some reason have a hard requirement for sudo, so I still have to have it installed, and I still have to use it for those. But
well, your AUR helpers go through fake root, which fake root does list sudo as a dependency.
Right.
So that's probably why.
And it's probably a script, and it doesn't have any kind of.
I was just throwing it out there that I'm not worried about sudo, and I hope that everybody watching this is not worried about sudo. If you've patched your system anytime in the last several years, you're good.
You're gonna have the security fix. But there is another problem I heard of that apparently on
the lock screen.
On some Debian systems and Ubuntu systems, you may have had problems with your certificates.
All that.
Yeah, you
it's
just have to update.
So much with the Debian. It's so much with the Debian, including the Chromium. So
you just have to update your CA certificates package to the latest version. And
cool. How about the Chromium?
Yeah.
Chromium, that is technically more secure. Will be in the mid of March more secure than it was now.
Okay, cool. So let me know. I mean, I remember DT posted a video about Brave. It's a Chromium based browser again. And the funny fact is that all this Chromium based browser came with a black box from the Google, which is turned out that it's gonna be it is spying on user Linux user. Yeah, it is. Yeah, just Google it. Just Google it. The Debian Chromium. Google it. The Debian Chromium spyware with the Google.
No, Chromium it's open source.
Well, it does. It does come with the black boxes. Search for it.
No, it doesn't. There have been times when Chromium came with closed source parts.
You know that we already removed the Chromium from the Debian seed for that reason.
Yeah.
Well, Chromium is going to be removed from a lot of
reason why it was removed. Yeah. The reason why it was removed, it was because the API
we're going to quit working.
They will disable ability to use API.
You're not going to be able to
And
use the sync
each
features.
distribution
Yeah.
had their own API key. But something else that you need to know, on Debian, no matter what you used, Chromium was few versions behind, so it was already insecure.
Well,
You should
Canonical
remember that.
Canonical solved this problem about maintaining the Chromium package a long time ago when they snapped it.
That's why they
and everybody
use
got
Snap.
mad about it. Oh, you took it
That's
out
why
of the
they use
repository. Well, you know what? Now everybody's going to need to use that Snap. So
To be fair, Chromium
even Chromium Snap won't work. Even Chromium Snap APIs won't work because they won't have the ability to use the key because that key will be invalidated.
Okay, I post the article on the chat, so if anyone interested in know how Chromium doing the spying on Linux user, they can read that article. Doesn't matter if the project is open source. There's still the black box inside the code. It's similar as your hardware. So as I said, I'm not gonna go deep into security stuff, but what I'm saying is that while we are posing this. You are more secure.
Yeah, it's 2015. Yes, at that time it still had problems with security because it had parts that were closed source inside. After that, there came a big blowout. Why there is a closed source software inside open source Chromium, and after that they removed the closed source parts. Nowadays, it's clean of closed source components,
and we have a lot more forks in the last 5 years. We have
of course.
You should
right. It's been on Google
article.
Chromium exists now, so I mean you get
use 2020 article.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying is that based on these articles and other factors on your computer, you're not going to be ever safe with people tending to spy on you. So,
technically speaking,
you said that's a stupid idea.
Only place you are safe in grave.
That's not true. That's not true. You can still build a good system with the ARM and PowerX.
No. Reality is you're spied on everywhere. When you go outside, there is probably a satellite watching you.
Oh, I know for a fact. I've actually seen myself photographed by one of the Google Maps satellites before. I was looking for an address one time not too far away from my house, and I looked at the satellite photo, and I saw this bald-headed white guy on the street at the time when the satellite took the picture. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
So, if you live in the US, you're basically all the time on at least few cameras. There is no point in
is somebody watching the stream here in the call through speakers? Because we're hearing some feedback from everybody.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, if you have earbuds, put them in.
Please make use of some form of headphones.
Otherwise, the computer speakers are going to bleed through your microphone, and it's going to create a bad feedback.
Put my earphone.
DT.
Yeah.
Maybe that's me echoing.
It could be.
On.
But it was really bad here in the last couple of minutes. A lot of times when people first join, they don't realize that their computer speakers.
Maybe that's me. Yeah. Maybe that's me. How is it now?
Yep.
I don't hear anything now. So.
Okay, cool. That was me then.
Okay. So I heard somebody mentioning that Ubuntu was packaging Chromium as a snap. Do we know why why Canonical actually decided to do that?
Yes. Simple
it has nothing to do with the fact because it uses proprietary software.
No. It has to do with the fact that it was that they wanted to be always on the latest version of Chromium, and it updates every 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah, it's every 3 weeks Chromium sees a new release. It is a very, very aggressive update process.
Because of
Ubuntu's not a rolling release.
Whole system, how they do with SRUs and all that. They wanted to still be on the safest version because web browser is one of the most important pieces of software nowadays. They wanted to have the latest version all the time, which by how much time they used to update, they had to update for 4 or 5 different systems, different operating systems, which meant 5x time because there were differences in those systems. Dependencies got problematic because Chromium updated with newer dependencies, and for example 1604 might not have those dependencies anymore, or 1404 at the time doesn't have that dependencies. And that's why they decided to actually go to one package that is on through Snap. That way they use just one X time, and because of that they can do all the systems, and system will still work. And that way they actually wanted to like do an upgrade path for those people who are at 1604 and wanted to go 1804. But that's why they added the apt package, the
Well, it solves
Chromium installer snap
it solves
package.
the problem not just for Canonical and Ubuntu, but it solves it for every distro
Yeah.
that's not a rolling release
Yeah.
distro, really, because
Yeah, pretty much.
nobody can maintain Chromium. You know, if
Yeah.
it's updating
Chromium
that
is a hell.
constantly, right?
Every three
Yeah.
weeks there is a minor version,
Right.
minor version. In those 3 weeks there are security updates. Every 6 weeks there is a major version. And
Okay,
you
no,
have
I have
to,
a question for you.
What?
Which platform you're running to right now? It's Intel or AMD?
I'm running Intel.
Okay, so how do you trust? I'm not gonna talk about the security in depth from the satellite being spying on us.
Yep.
I'm talking about my own computer, which I paid for, and I want to have control over it. That's the whole idea behind installing a Linux operating system or Unix-like GNU operating system. So I want the control over my hardware and software, and the ideas like core boot and stuff, it just make no sense to me. It's just another layer of lie on top of we are not being spied on, or we are secure, or we are privacy. We have a privacy. So my question is there.
Are you talking about the Intel management engine here?
No,
That's
it's not
integrated
just
in every
only
computer.
it's not only.
2008?
It's come from the AMD. It's come from the Intel, and furthermore, let's say I spend like nearly $7,000 to $8,000 to prepare myself a very nice PowerX CPU platform, which is completely open source, or even the ARM PC. You can build an ARM PC yourself, which is true. And again, you're gonna connect to the internet through your modem and through your wireless access point, which both come with the proprietary firmware, and you have no idea how this is gonna work for you. What I'm saying is that
somebody
and furthermore, your ISP. I've been in the ISP, working in the ISPs in the government level even, and there are certain governments all around the world which actually tapping people's data.
Yeah.
So
and
when we talk about the security, of course. What I'm saying is that
can I request that we move away from security in this discussion, because we already know that this is probably a conversation that could take up the entire time.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just saying that. Please, when we're talking about the Linux topic, like why we are switching from the VLAN to XOR to the VLAN, don't mention the security, because that does exist. Talk about other things, like it's beautiful, it's new, it's gonna fix the bug.
Well, when people talk about security, though,
about security.
Yeah, when people talk about security, they're talking about auditing the code. The code for Wayland, or not Wayland, the code for Xorg is old and gigantic, and not enough people understand it. They're not saying Wayland is more secure, like fundamentally it's a better piece of software. They're just saying nobody really understands how Xorg works.
Exactly that.
Right.
Exactly that.
Cool. So we are clear on that.
Yeah, that's all.
Let's go to the VLAN.
By security, what is meant by security is that unless you allow it, there is a much lower chance another piece of software will be able to, let's say, screen cap what you're doing in, let's say, another.
No, it's very cool. As long as we all agreed with something about the security on top of the operating system, it's really fine with me.
Lower than, but what I'm talking about is that fundamentally speaking, Wayland by itself is more secure than Xorg because it uses sandboxing. So let's say right now, if we weren't broadcasting this live on YouTube,
and why I really
some system daemon that is a virus wouldn't be able to screencast this chat to some server in America that collects all the data. It wouldn't be able to
Big part. Let's stop it here. It's gonna bore the people to death.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. if we really want to have a Xorg versus Wayland debate, just go to libraries, whichever website is doing like the front end for library these days. I think it's Odyssey. Just go to Brian Lunduke's Linux Lux Talks, and that basically tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, Joshua, why I just tossed this conversation about the security? I never saw DT saying that the Linux is like secure. I know maybe I'm wrong, but there are thousands of people posting videos about the Linux, and they're just claiming that the Linux is much secure operating system. I just wanted to say that
technically speaking, Linux is more secure than other operating systems. But that is Linux by itself, not the hardware Linux runs on. You shouldn't say
just remember, as long as this exists, there's no such thing as a secure computer.
Yeah,
cool.
and even when people are talking about the kernel being secure, again, they're not saying that necessarily the Linux kernel is more secure than the NT kernel, for example. They're really focusing on the fact that so many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people at some point review pieces of code in the kernel because it's open source, more eyeballs on it. It's not that it's fundamentally something better. It's just more people are there working on it.
Yeah, but you're gonna end up with the blow of the kernel, which is closed source. So I don't see any point of people reviewing a code which is gonna end up with the blow of proprietary software. So you cannot use your computer. I mean, thousands of people can review the whole kernel, but at the end of the day, one single driver from the NVIDIA or AMD
it's open source.
Can
you
do
fork
that.
it. The kernel's been forked so many times. We have the Linux Libre kernel already.
But it's not working on any hardware. That's not my point. I mean, which one of you work on the Libre right now?
I have it running on that machine behind me.
Yeah, I have one here. One here. No Wi-Fi, no graphic card.
I have to use Ethernet on that machine. I'm not going to lie. I do have to use Ethernet.
It's all about trusting someone and lowering the threat. That's what it is.
I have 16 kernels installed on this.
Nothing is 100% secure.
Oh, come on, put it down. It comes with the Intel CPU and Intel Management Engine. Come on, put it down.
Intel Management Engine is disabled by default on all System 76 computers.
Security threat.
And it comes with core boot.
You can't say
it does come with core boot.
Yep.
You can't say it's disabled since it's a hardware-based platform. You can't say that.
The firmware is open source. You can go to System 76
it doesn't matter.
page and look at
it. Each computer chip comes with its own firmware and operating system.
Yeah,
you can't
they disabled it.
It has to.
They disabled it.
You can't do that with the core. You can't do that with the core boots. It's just the advertisements. Let's talk about this later. Let's talk about this later.
Let's talk about
privately.
But I'm also the guy that has an existing Windows installation on this too.
Management Engine automatically means security threat. That's a discussion that I think is.
Okay. Can I steer the discussion to how amazing DistroTube has been lately?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I took all these stats half an hour before the live stream started. We have 1.31K users, so 1.31 thousand. I think that's 1,310 users or something like that.
We gained a user since the stream started. 1,311 users.
Okay. I remember I told you when I took these stats.
Yeah.
Of those users in the 3 weeks that's been running now, or something like a month now, or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely not been a month. Yeah, maybe 3 weeks. Yeah.
We have had 53 user-generated reports, 573 mod actions, and generating all this information. I've decided that the mod interface for Matrix could be a
Mastodon.
lot, or Mastodon. Yeah, the mod interface could be a lot better.
Oh, I agree there. Because as somebody that spent a lot of time doing some of those moderation actions, one of the things I spent a lot of time doing was blocking certain anonymous email providers, just so anybody that registered with some of these services, they can't actually register, because it's always going to be spam. It's just spam. That's all it is.
There are some providers either provide like anonymous mails or mails that are like one-time mails, stuff like that. Those need to be blocked.
Yeah, if you register on a service like Mastodon with an anonymous email, 99.9% of the time you're either a spammer or a troll. You're never a legit person. So I've spent a lot of time going in there and just blocking probably 100 different domains from being able to register.
Do you consider using like a spam trap or something?
I haven't, but the back end for Mastodon, like Josh was saying, there's not a lot built into the platform itself.
No, it's pretty bare.
Yeah, I mean, all I can
No,
do.
I mean, use a spam trap as a Linux package. It's just kind of spamming like emails you don't want it. Like even you can just give him like some public emails.
Well, I can
like for me, I have servers. I just block like Outlook, Gmail, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can block. I can block certain email addresses, email domains. I can also do some filtering with the messages. I haven't actually played with the filtering, but I really don't want to get into filtering a lot of stuff because it's going to catch a lot of other people. It won't just catch the spammers.
Don't worry. I can do that later for you. I can provide a script for you that is gonna help you with the filtering and some security measurement.
I don't know if the script itself will work through in Mastodon. That's the problem. Because it's PHP, probably. Or what is this?
Mastodon? I have no idea.
Ruby.
Yeah, I don't think it's PHP.
Really?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Ruby,
Might
Postgres,
not
and
work
Redis.
through that.
Yeah,
Cool.
Redis and Post.
Cool.
Let me see.
So I think we can do
SQL.
that. Yeah, we can create a script for that part.
Okay.
Yeah, it's possible. I would say at least. I'm surprised that they use Ruby. You don't see a whole lot of Ruby actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruby is dead.
Well, what you
People
do?
gonna kill me. People gonna kill me right now.
Okay. Are we ready? Are we ready for the programming joke of the stream here?
Yeah, is it going to involve JavaScript?
Yes.
I already knew it was going to involve JavaScript in some way.
Okay,
Let's go
okay.
ahead.
So let's get two programmers and a monkey. Let's line them up. One programmer doesn't know what he's doing, and another one kind of knows. One programmer, the one that doesn't know anything, is going to generate his website using a static site generator. We'll use Hugo for an example.
Yeah, sweet. Okay.
The other programmer is going to write out his website in JavaScript. The monkey is just going to slap his keyboard a couple times, and it's going to come out with perfect Ruby code.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it like this: JavaScript should be that.
JavaScript is the future.
It's the most popular language in the world right now.
Yeah, but it should be that.
Yeah.
JavaScript is the future.
Single reason.
It's the future. We already have desktop environments that are written in JavaScript.
Yeah. GNOME doesn't count.
I'm gonna say simply JavaScript should be that. And there is nothing I'm talking about JavaScript as a language that is not part of that. It's
Okay, listen to me, guys.
Period thing called
To be fair, if you don't have to compile it, it's not a real programming language anyway.
It's a once in the like never. But at this moment, I'm completely agree with the big part.
Yeah. Well, you know what the problem with JavaScript is? JavaScript would have never evolved to be what it is without the web. It's the web that's trash, and it's the web that made JavaScript trash. Right.
The point of JavaScript was web. That's what JavaScript was at the start.
If everybody would have just stuck with the Gopher protocol, we would have never needed
Gopher. Even
of course,
it come to that because Gopher would evolve.
Yeah.
Reality is what JavaScript was meant for. It's what is used for. Still, most now is code on users' machines. Open the website on that. So what can happen on your site? So, for example, on your site, DT, it is used for if your connection is slow, it colors your screen. I don't know which color.
But big part. How about which part of the JavaScript you mentioned is there? Is client side or the server side?
Client side should be that.
Yeah, server side is different. Yeah,
because WebAssembly is.
Because in my opinion, that the server side is still like the most useful. Yeah.
Right.
Can I talk
and
about
the client side,
the one benefit that JavaScript
server side shouldn't even exist because.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna say this, but I would rather use PHP than JavaScript on the server, even though I'm gonna barf if I just have to think about PHP.
Yeah, you should not. Yeah, server-side JavaScript shouldn't be a thing. I absolutely agree.
Shouldn't even be.
So, The one thing,
what else a reality?
the one thing that JavaScript has given us, and we all have to be thankful of this. JavaScript gave us the literal footprints to enabling dynamically loading websites, because we totally need that on our internet service.
Yeah, but you can do that with other languages.
If you
JavaScript did it first.
Are you talking about the React review?
This all runs on JavaScript. It's all JavaScript frameworks. Reality is nowadays we have WebAssembly. You can compile basically any language to WebAssembly if it has basically has code to libraries for that. You can compile it into WebAssembly and run it on your system. Hell, I have seen website written in C#, client-side code written in C# for websites. You won't even know that it's written in C# because it is compiled in WebAssembly. Because the .NET client, .NET Core client, is compiled into WebAssembly, and then C# code runs in your browser. And I don't know which company, I believe it was Autodesk, the guys who make AutoCAD. I believe they compiled one of their C++ programs. I'm not exactly which one, but they compiled it with WebAssembly, and it was running in the browser.
I mean, you could just replace JavaScript and PHP with Python. Just get rid of both of them.
Yeah.
No. C#.
No, nobody uses C#.
Yeah.
Here before too long, we're going to have
It's always Python and Django. Always.
Before too long, what we're going to have, and we can actually probably do this right now, is have just like a bare minimal viable Linux installation with like some form of Xorg or Wayland server running. That, and then everything else on top is just Python. That will happen. Well,
I would say we were probably headed in that direction. We were probably headed in that direction before the rise of Rust. Now Rust is going to be replacing everything.
No, it's still going to be Python because all companies, nobody's hiring Rust developers. Everybody's hiring Python developers. It'll be 10 years before Rust is even on the corporate roadmap.
A lot of Ubuntu is Python based.
A lot of everything is Python.
Yeah, but you really cannot replace the Python with anything. It's just its capability of having machine learning and deep machine learning is not presented in any language at the moment. So I don't see anytime soon we're gonna have anything that will replace the Python. It's I mean maybe Rust can beat the Python in many different levels, but when it's come to the deep neural network with the computing, it's just the Python
standard for that, but
of course, I was joking about Rust. Rust is just the latest meme language, kind of like Haskell was a meme language.
Well,
nobody really uses this.
Okay, so the biggest advantage that Rust actually has is that Rust is actually a real programming language.
Yeah,
as opposed to.
Let's be real about this, because Haskell, Python, all the other ones, they are scripting languages because you need
Haskell is not a script. I mean, I guess you can script with Haskell, but nobody.
Do you compile your Exponent? Do you have to recompile
you have to recompile your Haskell programs. Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that because I don't program in Haskell.
Yeah, you have to have the Haskell compiler on your system, or you're not gonna have a good time.
So Derek,
don't mind me. I'm learning the master programming language right now. I even bought the big fat book for it.
What is that? C?
So Derek.
Yeah, C88.
Hold up, Murray. Is that you?
I hate C++.
Yeah. To follow up to your Rust command language applications, I found a website that has. I've downloaded 200 Rust command line applications. Some of them are all from one website.
So why do you need a website? Rust has a package manager. It's called Rust Up.
Yeah, but you do cargo install the package. But to find the package, you go to the website. It gives you the install instructions. It gives you a description of the package, and it gives you examples of what it can do.
I thought you could get that with Rust Up too.
Okay.
Rust Up is a system to manage different versions of Rust.
Oh, okay.
Rust
I was wrong.
So if you wanted to know if there was a Rust command line package to time an application, how would you use Rust Up for that?
I wouldn't know. I don't really use Rust Up. I just know that it exists.
Huh.
Rust app is to manage different versions of Rust compiler. Specifically, you could equate it to what is the node something that does basically the same thing. Basically, you can manage what version of the compiler you have.
Okay. The thing about Rust applications command line is they have no dependencies, or they have one dependency to lib C, which is a gold mine for me because I can put it in an app image and not have to worry about external dependencies.
One of the big things about Rust is it is mainly dependency less because it statically links all dependencies together.
Oh well, I got trashed on my video for recommending things like a bat over cat and procs over PS because when you install those things, the install size is bigger than the good new core util alternative. It's like, dude, we're talking like kilobytes, like megabytes, maybe.
Let me tell you this: when you can take cat and all its dependencies and put them in one package, in one package, that it all runs independently of whatever you have in your system, then tell me that the Rust file is a lot bigger, because it's not. That's the reality, because Rust will take all the dependencies.
Hey, I've tried to make that same argument about Haskell. People, well, I would install Xmonad or Pandoc or this Haskell program, but I have to install the Haskell compiler, and it's 300, 400 megabytes for the download, and it's like, dude, all your C programs, the C compilers on your system, all your Python stuff, you had to install all the Python libraries. I mean, you have to have Haskell on the system.
2 versions at the same time normally.
It's like, well,
at least you have 2 versions of Python on your system. 100%.
I have one.
Right.
You're lucky.
Yeah. The other nice thing about Rust is it's good for parallel programming. It's designed, it's thread safe, so it's hard to screw up your parallel processing. So I have a Rust application called LMS, which does a copy or rsync or delete, and it works with huge folders, and it's really fast because it uses every core. I have a file manager dual pane that has left and right sides, and you can copy a folder from left to right. It works fine for small and intermediate files, but in large files, large folders, it will fail silently. I used LMS instead, and it copies it across the network without any problem.
Well, big thing why Rust is really, really good is because it is memory safe, thread safe, but it is at the level or close to the level of C.
C, right.
That is what is really great about Rust. And I have been following Rust long before it was popular. So
I've been following Rust since Mozilla announced it.
No, I've only been following Rust since Linus said if anybody wants to do commits in Rust for the kernel, he'd take them. So
he decided that Rust is one language he should allow in the kernel.
So
C.
Derek, I found an alternative to EXA. It's in Rust. It's called LSD.
Yeah, I played with that one too.
It has a nice feature that you can have the date modified either in absolute terms or relative to the current time. So you can go through and say this file was modified 2 hours ago.
The only thing I didn't like about LSD is, it has some icons and some special formatting in it that sometimes isn't great if you're piping the output of that command into something else. It's just garbage characters, where EXA, I don't have that problem. So,
that's true.
If I may, just a little bit off point, Andrew, if you wish to talk, just talk.
Yeah, I haven't been monitoring the chat here.
Yeah, if you have something to say, just turn on your microphone and say it, because he has been raising his hand a couple of times. If you wish to talk, just talk. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
The other thing I found, there's something called SD you can use instead of sed. It has a much simpler syntax. RRs instead of XRs. Locate instead of locate. And color TTY for setting color schemes for alacrity. on that.
Oh, I didn't know there was a Xargs replacement for RARGs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hardware.
Yeah, I might try that because it's such a simple tool. I don't mind replacing that with one of the Rust versions. Yeah.
For those who are worried about bat, if you replace bat with cat with bat, that you won't be able to use certain programs because they have hard dependency on cat.
They've
In my
already.
opinion, the hard dependency on cat, they should have it statically linked. That's or at least have it relative to itself, so it comes with the package itself. But what is the really big part is that yes, when you use a terminal, when you type in terminal and you type bat some file or some files, it will push it through link pager, which means it will make it like less and stuff like that. So you have to press enter to see additional lines. But if it runs through a command, so if you do, let's say you output cat or bat output to some other command, it won't run through pager and it won't have those line numbers.
Yeah.
So it will work exactly like cat. And if you want it to work exactly like cat, you have certain command line options which you can enable that it will run exactly like cat.
Yeah, because
So
I had people
it has
commenting.
that logic inside that it will protect you if you're running it in scripts.
Yeah, because bat without any other arguments gives you the line numbers and the syntax highlighting and all of that. And people were like, well, how's that going to work if you're piping it into something? It's like, it doesn't do all that when you're, it's just going to cat it out, right? It's just gonna...
it will work exactly like cat.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It only does that when it knows you're using it as a list pager.
When it detects a terminal or a TTY.
Yeah, the other thing is, if I can install a Rust app on my Debian 10, I've got Manjaro dual booting on one machine. I could go into Manjaro, and if it stalls there, then I can copy the binary back over to Debian 10, and it should work on there. So it's kind of a nice feature. Anyway.
Well, if you're just putting it all in an app image anyway, then you should be able to take it anywhere that can run an app image.
Yep.
Obviously, geeks, it's not going to work with app images.
Speaking of app images, BigPod, I forked your duplicate and I created a website. Is it public? Can you see it? Or I don't know. It's the first time I've forked anything on it.
Where's it hosted? GitLab or GitHub?
GitLab.
GitLab. Let me look for it. I've always wanted to unnecessarily fork somebody else's projects. I was just like,
you want to talk about forking projects? I recently forked OpenBox just for my own sanity.
GitLab.com/Shay Murray, CHEZ Murray /duplicate.
I think I had already had that bookmarked at one time, but I have since deleted Firefox, so I don't have it.
You can export your Firefox bookmarks into a XML file.
Yeah, I do have it saved on my system, but I'm not going to go look for it. I think I can find it just doing a search, though. Yeah, Murray Smithers /duplicate. Is that you?
That's it.
Okay, I got you. And I'll post the link for anybody that wants it. I'll post it in the Jitsi chat.
I had trouble getting it to work with Python 3.9 because it turns out PyQt5 is broken with 3.9. I had to go back to the previous version of
what's broken.
I'm not sure of the exact error message I got.
Python Qt5.
OpenBox is feature complete. It's no longer being developed.
Yeah. Murray, what was broken exactly? PyQt5?
Yes. I had to go back to the previous release to get it to work with duplicate. Once I did that, it worked fine.
So you were running which version of Python?
I was running Python 3.8 with the latest release of PyQt5, but I had 3.9. I have to go back to the previous release of PyQt5.
Python PyQt5 is a little piece of Python programming. Basically, Python is crap, and this is even bigger crap. I have so much trouble with that. Do you remember with what was the error? It just wasn't running, or did the console or terminal drop something out?
I don't remember. I can.
Was it something with X that it didn't work on X?
Oh, it was one of the built-ins. It gave me an error on a built-in for some reason.
Oh, I thought it was the X problem, which I've been dealing with.
It sounds to me like you should be filing a bug report.
Well, it's a known. I did a Google search, and it's well known. The cure for it on Debian 10 was to bring an SO module in from SID and symlink it to it, which I'm not going to do. And on Ubuntu's, you did a couple apt-get installs, and then that would clear it up on Ubuntu.
I mean, who would you file the bug report with? Debian or Python? I mean,
you would start with your distro maintainer. So you would start with Debian, and then it's Debian's job then to take it to the maintainer if it needs to go there. But in this case, it's really just a Debian-related issue.
Well, it's Ubuntu as well.
Well, yeah, of course it's going to be an Ubuntu issue because it's a Debian issue, and Ubuntu is just on top of Debian.
They're using the same repository.
Yeah. They're using Debian testing. We're using Debian testing as a base for Ubuntu repositories.
Yeah, the current snapshot release for Ubuntu is going to use the current Debian testing freeze.
Yeah. But Python Qt5, that's been the death of me because certain things just don't want to work, and it doesn't work for some reason. For a while now, it doesn't work.
So can I talk about a subject that everybody on this channel appreciates?
Just a bit. You know what works? It doesn't work on X. It works on Wayland. That's the best thing. It works on Wayland, but not on X.
Yeah, but I bet it breaks Pulse Audio.
Actually, it doesn't.
Well, anyways, I want to talk about my, I think it's a 6-month journey at this point, going away from GNOME.
Yeah, and you'll never go back, right?
There are times where I want to go back.
I don't believe
I'm not going to lie. I am not going to lie because, so I started with Awesome Window Manager because that's what Derek recommended. Awesome was in fact awesome because I happen to know a thing or two about configuring Lua, so I figure it's the perfect starting place for me. Well, turns out that the Awesome Window Manager is also really, really, really inefficient.
Are you about to trash Lua scripting as not being a good programming language? Is that where we're going with this?
It is not.
So Lua is not a programming language; it's a scripting language. There's a difference.
Yeah, it is. There is a difference, a big one.
So many people trash Lua unfairly.
To be fair, Lua is actually really cool, but at the same time, people develop Lua wrong. That's the problem with Lua. And
well, people develop a lot of things wrong. I mean, we can.
Knew that. But like, if you read like the Lua 5.4 reference manual, which I also have on my shelf, I'm not about to grab that one and throw it behind me. But anyways, if you read that, they tell you how you're supposed to code in Lua, but nobody follows that reference guide.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just like all these people that go like, "Hey, I code in video games. Let's just slap stuff together."
Yeah, that's basically what Lua is
the Awesome
for.
team does.
So the other thing about Lua is that 5.4 breaks 5.3, 5.3 breaks 5.2.
Oh, yes.
Yes. There is no backwards compatibility because of video games.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but a lot of video games use Lua as internal scripting language.
Yep. But anyways, I've since migrated away from the Awesome Window Manager to DWM, and the reason why I did that is because I can actually make sense of what I'm looking at. Now, I know that Derek said that we're supposed to move right on to Xmonad, but I can't wrap my head around Haskell for the life of me.
Let me recommend you a great move, even better one than to Xmonad and Haskell.
What's that?
Qtile and Python.
Yep.
Okay, so here's an issue with Qtile and Fedora, and I've already filled out a bug report for this. I can grab a link for you and post it in the chat.
I know it's a problem on most distros. Qtile, if you're on a rolling release, it's great, but a lot of the other distros, I know people have problems installing it and getting it working in Debian and Ubuntu and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh no, it's more severe than that.
Yeah.
I can load it into Qtile and I can see it, but the config file is unreadable.
What, you can't read Python?
No. Like, the system cannot read the config file on Fedora. This is true with 32, 33, and Rawhide.
Really?
Yes.
That's Fedora.
Yeah, it is a Fedora issue.
Well, that's an issue with Fedora breaking Python then. I don't know.
As far as I remember, let me just check.
So Fedora Rawhide right now
actually isn't available on Ubuntu.
Yeah, Qtile
because
is available.
it uses Python 2.
Yeah.
You can always install Qtile with pip as well, I believe. But it may or may not be the best experience.
If it uses Python 2, then you won't be able to install it because you don't have pip2.
Yeah, the problem with Qtile on Fedora specifically is that Fedora lists Python 3 as a default version of Python. Yeah. So in order for the config file to work on Fedora, you have to specify in the config file to set it as Python 2 as default. But I remember saying on the stream some number of months ago that defaults matter, and if it doesn't work out of the box, I'm not going to use it.
You need to, you need to, even on Ubuntu, if you wanna run Qtile at all, if you wanna install it from pip or install it from or compile it from source, you need to install Python 2, which I won't recommend because you shouldn't install Python 2 at all. It is out of support. Don't use it.
Well, I mean, it's out of support, but there's a ton of stuff out there that still requires it. So
So Qtile is using Python 2?
Yeah.
That's
that's that. I believe they're trying to port it to Python 3, but
I mean, Qtile is under pretty heavy development. They've got half a dozen guys that work on it in a pretty serious way. So
let's check.
Yeah,
Qtile.
And I know there's commits all the time.
So Joshua,
to it,
what is it you're running right now? Which window manager?
I'm in Xmonad today, but I've got like 15 installed. So
I tried the Xmonad on my Debian seed in the standard edition. The standard edition of the Debian come with no window manager. I tried the Xmonad and the Xmo bar, I think.
Yeah.
The bar one. It was a nice experience for like 3 to 4 days. And then I start missing my dear GNOME. It just
well,
I'm not gonna complain.
You know what you can do? This is not something I've ever recommended, but you can actually run Xmonad, the window manager, inside GNOME. Like I
already tried that. I tried there's a window telling window manager for GNOME. There are like a couple of them. The one is like works for me very best. Was the one came from the distro, which one is the hardware one? The System 76? No, the Pop OS. The Pop OS. Yeah, it's come with the GNOME special. No.
Get that out of here.
Put it down. It is for Pop, not for you. The Pop OS come with the window manager.
I'm gonna have to put the disclaimer that this video contains an ad placement because he keeps going at it.
Yeah, we're gonna charge you later, Joshua.
Paid promotion.
Actually, I didn't like the window manager on top of the GNOME. I tried like 3 or 4 of them. It's just making the things really worse.
Yeah, it really does. There's no reason to do that. I don't, but it's an option.
GNOME has quite a bit of problems with that. Adding a different.
Like I tried Awesome DWM i3. I think the Rust, whatever Poison. I think. It was
rat poison. Oh wow!
Yeah, rat poison.
No, don't. Yeah, because that's like Emacs inspired, right? It's really weird. Yeah, you don't want
the funniest one, the most completed one was the Xmonad, and it just, I mean, it just needs some still some touches, in my opinion, to be like a good telling window manager for software developer. I mean, and as a software developer, it doesn't really match my workload when I'm want to do stuff rapidly. It just sometimes bugging me, especially with this crash of having with the config file, once and on, sometimes I'm gonna log in, it's just say the config file is corrupted and you have to create a new config file, which I don't know why I have to then log in as a root and then rename the config file and just copy that the same. I mean, it's the same thing. I'm not touching anything. And I have to re-log in to, make it work.
What config file are you having to edit?
I actually copied the one from your GitHub.
Okay.
And it was really working fine. And I said it's Debian. Maybe that's a problem. It's Debian SID. Maybe that's a problem with the I don't know, packaging
no,
or
because
something.
SID is rolling. If it was Debian stable, there could be some problems because in my config file at the very top of it, I'm importing a bunch of Xmonad modules, and they're part of
I have them.
and they're part of the Xmonad contrib package, and some of those are in more recent versions of Xmonad contrib. So if you're running like Debian stable, some of those modules may not be available, and that could break things. But if you're on Debian SID, you're fine.
I can tell. I didn't compile the Xmonad from the GitHub. I used the package for the SID.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a problem. Maybe I don't know.
You also need. So if you're going to install Xmonad on Debian, any version of Debian, you need to, and you're going to install from the repos, you also have to install the Debian-source package.
No, Debian SID have a package for telling that there's like 6 or 7 of them. Xmonad is one of them. So you don't need to install it from the source. It just
no. You need to get the source to get all the tools for Xmonad.
I know what
I'm not saying that you have to compile it, but you need the files available, because if you just install Xmonad on Debian, it's just going to install the Xmonad binary. Nothing else.
Yeah, you need.
It does, but it does also come with the community package, so you can add that as a package too. So it's just the contrib. I think the name of the package is.
Oh, is it listed as a dependency now?
It's install all the contrib package, same as Arch.
Okay.
So
you pretty much need Xmonad contrib to use Xmonad. I mean, without it, it's really a bare bones window manager.
Yeah, it was so better one for me.
Now tell you about the best window manager, Marco. The default window manager.
Okay.
I knew it.
Okay, I am triggered now. I am triggered now because I have nothing but problems with Marco.
I have to shield Mate.
Every time I install Ubuntu Mate or the Mate desktop environment, I literally have to dump Marco because I get nothing but massive screen tearing.
Really?
Yes, just straight up screen tearing. I have filed bug reports for this. I've even gotten in arguments with Wimpy himself over it. But because nobody is convinced that this is a real use case for me. At some point, I'm just going to grab a camera and just point it, install Ubuntu Mate, load it up, and show you guys the installer with nothing but screen tearing on it.
Can you please tell me what kind of hardware you have?
So it's an AMD 5700 XT as the GPU.
Okay.
It's on top of a Ryzen 7 processor. On top of
it sounds like he's got normal hardware. Yeah, nothing weird.
Pretty normal hardware. But I get nothing but massive screen tearing. And every time I install Marco, I have to, or Mate, I have to dump Marco for a different window manager.
It sounds like you need a different compositor. Yeah, you need a compositor that's not
another problem for me with the Xmonad.
Weird.
I thought Marco
I had a sound driver.
It is.
Come on, Joshua. I had a sound driver installed, everything installed, but I never could have a sound. No output.
You never could have sound with what? Xmonad?
With Xmonad, yeah, never. It doesn't. I mean, it's working in the GNOME, it's working in the i3, it's working in the Awesome. In the Xmonad, I never could have output.
Yeah, that's weird because it should have nothing to do with starting Pulse Audio.
Yeah,
for
I don't
example.
know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had like everything added in the group for sound, for video, and everything else. The Pulse was
because the window manager really shouldn't affect that. Yeah, that is a weird bug.
Yeah.
Bug. It never worked with that.
Why would somebody use Debian SID instead of Arch or OpenSUSE? Personal preference.
The reason why it says no, it's not personal preferences.
Why would anyone use Debian SID if they could use Fedora?
It's personal preference.
Yeah,
I'm running on Rawhide on top of a RAM disk on top of Debian Stable on top of OpenSUSE Leap. because we
that's a mess.
totally need to run VMs inside of VMs here.
Yeah,
Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean that's a weird question.
VMs,
Yeah,
thing.
that's a weird question though. Asking somebody why they run Debian SID when you run OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Like, what's I mean?
I mean, in my eyes, all of them is same. But for
Right.
me, it's just like Debian SID is just work. So I tried the Arch. Arch is really nice and fun, and Debian is nice and fun. Fedora, I'm never gonna make it up with Fedora. It just never been my guy.
That thing is horrible.
OpenSUSE,
Hey,
yeah, OpenSUSE, both version is like never gonna happen. So it's Arch and Debian SID for me. And I'm not familiar that much with the Arch universe, with AUR, Yay and everything else. For me, it's just sudo apt, So I'm just on it with the Debian for like years, and it's
Well, what you do?
I'm used to it.
What is wrong with Fedora?
You install Arch.
Everything is wrong with
That's
Fedora.
work.
No, not everything is
Crashes.
wrong with Fedora.
It's broken.
No, well, yeah, I know my Fedora installation.
I'll
is
give you
broken.
I'll give you my take on this. Is Fedora is a good distribution. I have had okay luck with it, but they do like to test things like very early. They love doing alpha and beta testing. Where, for example, we were talking about Ubuntu 2104 may ship with Wayland by default. Well, Fedora did that 4 years ago. Was that a good experience?
Look,
No,
Okay,
it wasn't.
Look, Joshua, listen to me. I couldn't ever break my Debian SID even intentionally. But I would break my Fedora 10 times by a single update.
Yep.
The video is dropping, the audio is dropping, the LAN is dropping, the system is
I've
crashing.
not had those issues using a stable release of Fedora.
Yeah, I mean, I always use a Fedora and it breaks. But for SID, I never could break the SID at all. Even if I wanted, I cannot break the SID. So that's the thing with the SID. So.
Okay.
I can break every system, don't worry. But
Yeah.
on any of my system, on any system I run, Fedora breaks within a single day for me.
Yeah, in 2 or 3 days, they're going to release the update and it's going to mess
for me,
everything up.
The
I read an
record was
article-
it
I read-
broke in 3 hours. It basically crapped its pants. Nope, you're not gonna boot. Kernel panic. Nope.
Yeah.
Or if
And
you're
that kernel panel thing.
10 minutes.
And that
crap.
kernel panel thing, it's 2021. I mean, I didn't saw. I mean, I saw this kernel panel on like gigs, sometimes because it's just liver kernel. But Fedora, it just updated the system, and 1 hour later you restart the system, you have a kernel panic. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I must be I must be a very special use case then, because I've in like the 10+ years I've used Linux, I've never had a kernel panic.
Oh, I've had them.
Really?
I did have
Oh,
that.
I've had plenty of them, but you just haven't used
Yeah.
the right distros. Have you ever installed
guess so.
Gentoo? Play
No,
with Gentoo
I've
for
not
a little
installed
while.
Gentoo.
See how long it takes to get a kernel panic or a broken Xorg. I give you a month.
Have you tried?
It's already broken.
It's
have you
already
tried
broken.
breaking Manjaro? You can do that
Yeah.
with grep. You can
Okay,
break
so
Manjaro with grep and get
To
kernel
answer
panic.
Shizm's question that he just posted in chat here, where he's asking if Fedora was supposed to be bleeding edge. Fedora is actually not supposed to be bleeding edge. It's supposed to be
Okay.
up to date.
Yeah.
Now, the big thing that Fedora's target audience is actually the developer. That's why they ship so much
No.
brand new software. Yes.
That's gonna be Debian SID. Yeah, I know this whole
Fedora.
this whole thing. No, I'm not I'm just kidding about the Debian SID. I know this whole story behind the Linux troubles using the Fedora and just make it like so much nice for developers. No, it's not true. As a developer, what I need and every other developer need is a stable platform and operating system, which Fedora is not. No matter how much harder try to make the Fedora sound like a developer-friendly OS. When I code, I want to turn off my computer or put it in the suspend, and tomorrow morning, the first thing I want to have a working computer. In the Fedora, in the next 2 days of coding, the third day you're gonna have a broken system and you're gonna have to recover all your
Of
code
course.
from the
That's
computer.
why
I
I
also
use
know a lot of
Debian
people
10.
who run Fedora and are extremely happy with it. For example, Neil Gompa, one of the Fedora maintainers,
Oh.
he's in love with it.
Of course he
And
is. I mean, come on, man.
He's been hounding me for so long.
Wow, one of the
Arch?
one of the Fedora
For me-
maintainers runs Fedora. Wow, that's
Bro,
I mean, I'm developing so
he-
long.
And why am I even talking about Fedora anyway? I'm running OpenSUSE right now.
Yeah, that's even worse. That's even worse. For
I
me,
wouldn't
as a
say that.
developer, it's always FreeBSD, then Debian SID, then Arch. I'm not gonna change from these three. It's just the working thing for me. I mean, Fedora, come on.
The article said that the Fedora developers inadvertently break ZFS every once in a while by making changes.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's because ZFS is not supposed to be on Fedora anyway.
You're supposed to be using ButterFS if you use Fedora.
Yeah.
Right? That's the default.
So
But,
the big reason why ZFS
Right.
always breaks on Fedora is because Fedora is
back in a
very
second.
close to the mainstream kernel development, the vanilla kernel, which does not ship ZFS and does not care about ZFS because it doesn't ship with it.
Even though it wants to, but it can't because Oracle.
Well, you should be using Ubuntu if you want to do ZFS anyway.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Please.
I mean,
that's
or
use
Proxmox.
Proxmox, Unraid. There's like another distro
we're
that really
talking about
pushes
normal
ZFS.
desktop Linux, but yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
could do other things.
Use
Right?
Ubuntu. It has installer that can install ZFS.
Yeah, because Proxmox, that's not a real distro.
That's,
I mean,
that's not a
right?
desktop distro. Forget about it. It's a server
Proxmox
distro.
is really not a real distro.
It's
It's,
not,
literally
no.
just Debian with an application on top of it.
No, it's what we call what's called. I can't remember how to name it, but it's
I'm using
like
it right now, and I've got Debian 10 and KDE on it,
Yeah.
and I've been doing it
Yeah,
for years. I've
But
been
Proxmox is just like
Proxmox,
Puppy
it's
Linux.
a-
It's not a real distribution.
Proxmox. It's a virtualization environment. It's an appliance. That's
Yeah.
what Proxmox is.
It's Debian 10.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
Debian 10, but it has Ubuntu kernel.
Yeah, it does use the Ubuntu kernel.
Actually, it
Okay.
uses customized Ubuntu kernel.
Okay.
Proxmox uses Ubuntu kernel that they customize themselves. That's why you need their own repositories to use kernel.
Yep.
It's an amazing system.
Just real quickly, guys, somebody in the chat was asking me, hey, have I dual booted 2 or more distros? I have. I don't like dual booting, though, unless you have multiple drives in your computer, because I like dedicating a drive to each operating system. It just makes things a lot easier. Trying to partition a drive multiple times to dual boot or triple boot, I've never liked that. It tends to break. Your grub's eventually going to break on you. It's just going to cause you headaches.
I once installed 15 distributions on a single
drive. Don't do that.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Don't do
It
that.
was a fun experiment. I think I still have the drive somewhere.
Yeah. So
Oh, no, I don't. It was an USB drive I used for school.
yeah. So I have
I-
6 drives in my,
Plugged in
Yeah.
to school computer and booted into it, so I didn't have to use school system and school software.
Yeah.
I used my own software. I had Linux for it, and yeah, 15 distributions,
Yeah.
all configured exactly the same.
I don't see the point in dual booting at all. Not
I
not
see
at
the
least
point,
multiple Linux
yeah.
distributions.
Multiple images. It makes sense if you let's say you want to have Ubuntu, but you sometimes want to dabble in Fedora.
Yeah, that's what I used it for. I've got Arch, of course,
That's
and
why
I've got
I have
Ubuntu and
every-
Fedora on the
every-
drives, and yeah, I mean, I got
edition on my hard drive. But
Yeah.
it
I mean,
doesn't-
I guess I wouldn't know. I've never really dual booted and find myself actually using both the operating systems.
I don't
I
either.
normally just
I don't
boot
either.
one
Really.
90% of the time.
I do use when I test stuff on a different distribution or on the same distribution with different versions.
Yeah, sometimes
I mean,
that happens.
sometimes
if
you
you're
want to
doing
do
like
something.
development work, it would make sense to have like a whole other operating system installed
That
on the machine
happens when
somewhere.
you're a distribution developer. That stuff happens.
Also, your data should be on a separate drive where possible. So
No,
I just had my root file system crash on the
Well-
SSD pin.
I have my I have Grub, Windows, and Linux on the same NVMe drive because this is a laptop and I can't install anything more in it.
Yeah, it said where possible. You're right. You have
Everything
to
on
do what you gotta
256
do.
gigabyte drive.
Okay,
Then I
I
have
hate to pull this out again because System 76 is not sponsoring this, but I've made a post on DistroTube lately that I
Dude,
was
put that
installing.
down.
Well, I was installing everything on this. This
Put it
laptop.
down, dude.
Okay. Well, anyways,
What
the
did you
SSD
install
on
on
that
it?
laptop is so full right now that I literally have to use this USB drive for Grub.
You need to start deleting some
Why?
stuff before you have some
Yeah.
serious issues.
Delete some stuff.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey! I subscribe to /r/data hoarder. We do not delete data.
Yeah, but the people
Then
that are
moving
doing
to a
that,
separate data
No,
storage
no, we
device.
don't delete data. We just buy bigger hard drives.
no, you buy a NAS to data hoard. You don't put that on a laptop.
Yeah.
You don't
I
do that.
actually am planning on buying a bigger hard drive for my server right now.
Yeah.
That's wild thinking. Either gonna buy myself a bigger hard drive or SSD, to be specific, or I'm gonna buy myself a Raspberry Pi or something like that.
And I've never understood the data hoarder crowd because they're
I understand them. I very well
because
understand
they're
them,
storing
but I don't have
terabytes.
money to be able to
They're
do it.
storing terabytes of stuff nobody cares. I can understand if you want to save music or maybe movies, but I mean they're storing stuff that just databases of information that nobody cares
But-
about. That's old,
Okay,
decades
okay.
old
If you
sometimes.
wanna
You
see
say
a
that
data
now,
hoarder, go
But
to
if you watch that
and
subreddit,
Sticky servers. He
Yeah.
has petabytes and petabytes
Yeah, that's
of storage
Mm-mm.
for his
Okay.
videos because he has 12K footage which he saves in RAW for some reason.
so if you take a moment to like scroll to that subreddit, there are some people that actually ask questions if somebody has something though. And that normally that thing is like so obscure that nobody's ever even heard of it.
and somebody will have
That
it.
is yeah, but somebody
will
has
have
it.
Yeah,
So it is actually a good resource that
I know actual data hoarders. They have everything basically.
yeah, they have everything. So you
I
just go in there,
once
you go ask,
wanted an
like, "Hey, I got
executable, and he had it. And the executable was basically so obscure. I know one person that used it. Him.
Yeah.
And I needed it for something, and he had it.
I admit though, I am a guy running around getting entire websites at times because it's just like I want a local copy of the website.
I've done that, but that's usually because I want to take a look at the HTML or something, see how they're doing some certain effect or something. Maybe I want to take a look. Yeah.
That said, at one point I did accidentally get the Internet Archive. That's not a good idea.
No.
Yeah.
I have somewhere in this room there is a storage medium which has on it every single piece of code I've ever written.
Okay, Mark,
Up
at
till
the risk
laptop.
of triggering everybody that's talking right now, I'm going to answer the question of what is the best operating system and editor for developers.
That's easy because it's the same answer for both Emacs.
No.
Well, yeah, technically true, but hold
Visual
on.
Studio Code.
Hold on. The answer is whichever one you prefer to use.
Oh, that's a cop
No,
out.
no, no,
That's
no,
a cop out.
No, that's never gonna work.
No.
That's never gonna work. Bro.
I
Don't
use
do that.
something even more esoteric than any of you use.
Adam.
I use a web browser.
Oh. Were you doing
I
like
use
Google
that-
Docs or something? What are you doing?
No, I have on my Kubernetes cluster deployed something called Eclipse Che, which then deploys a IDE called Eclipse Thea.
I don't run a server where I can access a VS Code development environment at all, I swear.
So-
I have basically for every Git repository that I run, I have a separate environment.
Mhm.
Right? Literally, just selected in Eclipse Che. I selected some website which I have on my own server. I select whichever environment, whichever repository I want. It opens up another window in the browser, and I develop in the IDE called
You know,
Eclipse
you know, I'm
Why
Thea.
are you
glad-
doing that offline.
I'm
Why are you
glad.
doing that offline?
I don't. I normally am right here.
Well, for
Okay,
me,
okay.
I never been comfortable by sharing my code either in the Git or in the Kubernetes or in the server. I mean, it's just like
I have end-to-end control over everything
Well,
because it's everything running on my own hardware.
You could always just store it in your own
I-
Nextcloud
it's-
server or
everything is
something if you
running-
wanted to.
Everything is running either here or here.
I mean, I have my NAS for storing my data and important data, but using a browser-based ID, like most of the time, I'm just disconnected from the internet because it's just a distraction for the
For me, I really don't get distracted a lot by this stuff. Even stuff like ads don't really bother me or anything really. I
I'm
could
sorry I
right
brought
now
up the
get a
topic.
notification on my phone and I wouldn't. be
I'm
distracted.
laughing at the YouTube chat. Somebody was
Yeah.
like coding in Google Docs LMAO. I was like, yep.
Actually, I know people are coding. I know people
people do it. Yeah.
that are coding in Google Docs.
Mm.
There are very specific usages for that. What are those? Preparing for different interviews, coding interviews, because they will.
Oh, I thought you were going to
especially
say
now,
preparing for an
give you
interview at
a
Google.
document.
Yeah, I don't share a mathematic table with the.
We all know that everybody just uses a basic terminal for coding. We just echo everything into the files.
Well, one of the things I wanted to mention, since we got on this topic, is one of the most popular videos I've done in the last month or so is a video that was titled "Vim can save you hours of work." And then on the thumbnail, I asked the question, "Can your editor compete with Vim?" And I get dozens of comments every day, still to this day, and this is several weeks later, of people telling me how Atom can do everything that Vim can do, and VS Code can do everything that Vim can do, and Notepad++ can do everything that, like everything I did in that video. It's like, man, your video is garbage. Vim is garbage. Why you use it? It's
reality
crazy.
is
So many people got triggered by that.
You lose too much time with learning Vim. Even though, yes, at the end of the day, we're IT people.
I don't know that you lose any time. How do you lose time learning something?
Okay. We spend 6 hours to script something that could be done in 5 minutes. I know that's the mentality of us.
Let's say I have nothing to say about the Vim or any other editors. Like when you are coding, there's a thing when you are coding, it's just you need autocomplete. You need You need many things. You need many things which is not presented in the Vim as a developer. You need them. And for me, like I'm using the JetBrains product, and it's just like
great products.
I have 6-7 terminal up in my third monitor, and I'm just you're running a server in one, running my diagnostic, running my tests in Python, and running different stuff on different windows. It just I know the Vim can do that. I know the Atom can do this stuff. Yeah. Not all, but many of that. But
what's really convenient though,
saving the time, like from the 6 a.m. I'm gonna start coding to like 12, and again I'm just eating, and then it's like up to 12 o'clock or 1 a.m. sometimes.
Okay, so
I don't want to spend times on Vim.
I want to stop you right here because you're using Vim wrong. Vim is not a code editor; it is a line editor.
Don't say that. Don't say that before anything else. I wasn't a previous an FPS open user. Don't do that. I mean, the Vim is like it was the most innovative thing back in time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was used to use the Echo. I mean, the damn Echo. And Nano for coding. So
Ed is the line editor. Vim replaced Ed because people didn't want to use a line editor. That was.
But Vim is still a much better line editor than a code editor. You do not write your initial.
I would say no. Don't go there though. If I want to write a macro assembly, there's a reason for everything. If I want to write a macro assembly, if I want to write a COBOL or Fortran, I still have to go. I will go with Vim. I mean, I'm there already. I mean, you don't have to ask me twice.
That's where I was going to go with this. Is if say you're remoting into another machine. I mean, Sublime is not waiting there for you, right? You're going to have to use something at the command line, right? You're going to have to
never write with the Sublime.
I'm gonna open Visual Studio Code, enter SSH, and enter remote code with SSH, enter. The IP address.
No. You use maggot inside Emacs, but I get what you're saying.
It will open up any public or publicly accessible SSH to SSH environment. So I can enter basically anything that I have access to with Visual Studio Code, and I can edit any file on it.
To answer the guy's question in the chat, obviously the text editor, we're kind of joking. Obviously,
I already answered it.
Use whatever you're comfortable with.
Use whatever you want.
But he was asking a serious question. He was asking he asked a serious question about the OS. I mean, we all agree Linux is the one you should be on, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I could argue.
You have to.
Don't say Windows, Big Clyde. Don't say
Mac.
No, it's not.
Much. Hey. It is at least Unix.
Barely.
Close to Unix.
There are some programming languages that Windows actually works better for when you're coding.
What?
Yeah, the ones that Microsoft invented.
No. Why? The .NET framework, you mean?
That's where he's going. .NET.
It's much more wonderful in the Linux, the .NET.
Oh, no. It's not wonderful.
Works better on Linux than on Windows.
It's awesome. I mean, why you need Windows?
Why would code on Windows? Visual Studio. Whether it be for Python, whether it be for C#,
Wait.
Visual
Who uses-
Studio is
I mean, who uses Visual
Hell of a-
Studio? I mean, the complete package. You mean the community or the
Hey
professional
guys,
edition?
hey guys, we
Yeah,
need
just
to
your community,
we need to
professional,
recognize
enterprise.
this. Big Pod, who is
In
the
10 years.
Big
It
Pod
is-
is the biggest Windows
has-
fan, and he just said Linux is better than Windows for coding.net.
with .NET.
That's
Not
a
for
big
coding,
thing.
not for coding.net, for running.net.
For running.net.
For
Okay.
coding, sadly, Visual Studio Code hasn't yet gone up to the level of Visual Studio, full-fat Visual Studio, which I'm
Doesn't-
really, really sad for, because I wish I could write at the same level I can on
Oh,
Visual Studio.
Big Pod,
Don't
you know.
you
That's
use
the only thing that hurts me about C# is that I cannot write like as efficiently on Linux as I can on Windows.
Hey,
That's the only thing that
try the JetBrains. Big Pod. Try the JetBrains.
the only JetBrains product I don't like is Rider. Really, the only one I don't like is Rider.
the only JetBrains product
I
use is
didn't
the
I didn't use the Rider for a while, but for me,
I have had problems with quite a bit writing in it. So
Yeah.
it is for some people, but not for me. I just can't use it.
I still can't
I-
believe
I
you
think
said
there's a Visual Studio Online. I think the complete package, the big one.
Yep.
Yes, but that is quite expensive because you need
Really?
to you need
You
to
can
host
self-host
in
it.
Azure. No,
For Python, I use PyCharm, and it's full
yeah,
featured.
PyCharm is also
Charm.
great, but
PyCharm is wonderful.
It's
but,
excellent, yeah.
just
It's wonderful.
As a-
It's
as a
the end of
complete
everything you
package-
need for
as a
Python.
complete package,
Exactly. Yeah.
one of the best IDEs is Visual Studio for the languages it
Oh.
supports. It's one of the best.
Since I saw this scrolling through your YouTube chat, I do want to reference on a DT video from like half a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so half a year ago, you did a video on installing Notepad++ through Wine on Linux.
Mhm.
Why don't you just use Notepad QQ, which is literally
did.
a port?
As a matter of fact, I mentioned Notepad QQ on the same video. I said you don't need it because
I don't think you did.
I did. Pretty sure I did.
I'd have to rewatch it because I remember
Yeah.
leaving a comment on it.
Yeah, you didn't watch the whole video because at the end we just installed Notepad QQ, and I said I had them both side by side, and like, look, they're the same thing. But if you really want Notepad++, you can install it in Wine. But we already have Notepad QQ on Linux, so yeah. So
That's the thing about
watch
the
till the
Linux
end,
always.
Josh. Watch till the end.
That's the
Who
thing about the
watches
Linux
YouTube
always.
videos to the end? They're too
I-
long.
No, they're too short. YouTube video,
Yeah.
you know what YouTube video isn't too long? The 12-hour live stream by NASA spaceflight they did when
Oh.
when SpaceX was moving SN10 booster from the manufacturing facility to the launch pad. It was basically 12 hours of watching
Nothing.
a silo move on a transporter 5 kilometers
No,
an hour.
when
or
you're
less.
watching that, you're not really watching it. That's basically just like in the background on the monitor behind you.
Now I did.
I had it on this monitor, on a laptop monitor. I was doing something else and was constantly.
He
taking a
just
look.
it was
How long-
ambient noise in the background. It was just something.
They were talking. I was
Right.
listening
Yeah.
to them talking. Mainly.
I wanted
But,
to ask Murray something really quick. Since you use PyCharm, Murray, are you still there?
Yes, I do.
Uh,
Yes, I do.
Do they do any kind of Vim emulation? Can you use the Vim
Yes,
motion keys?
Yes, you can do.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do
NetBrain
that.
tools use.
But you
I-
have Emacs installed. Why would you use
Integration.
PyCharm?
Python works great in Emacs, but a lot of
Don't mention it. Don't mention it. The PyCharm is the only thing. The only thing you need for Python development. I'm doing this for 10 years.
But I will
PyCharm
say
is
a lot
all
of
you
Python
need.
developers don't like Vim. A lot of them like Emacs, but they don't like Vim. Like they say, Vim it doesn't have all the tools they need. But everybody loves
The
PyCharm
cool
for
part
some
is
reason.
that you can have a Vim inside the PyCharm. So when
Right.
you're setting up the PyCharm, it
Right.
can ask if it's asking you if you want to use the Vim style either in the Windows or in the Linux. You can have both.
Yeah, it has an extension that can basically turn it into Vim-like environment.
Yeah, I'm using the PyCharm like 12 hours a day. I'm still using it with Vim configuration. So it's just combination of both for me.
I should
But-
install it and check it out at some point. PyCharm.
Yeah, the PyCharm. Just
Yeah.
if you can just even create a video for that, the community edition. It's
Yeah.
just
JetBrains,
Really,
all the
really
JetBrains
nice,
are
yeah.
great.
It's
all
hard
the-
to it's hard to beat it for full Python applications. If you're doing learning or development, Jupyter Lab is really good for
If
So
you're
Jupyter
learning,
notebooks.
I would argue that
Yeah.
you would never use an IDE for if you're learning the programming language.
But Jupyter
Yeah,
Lab
I agree with you.
is
Yeah.
excellent because you can save your code as a file and then bring it back up later to where it was before. And you don't have a history list. You have actually the commands and then the output, the next command, the next output. So it's there for historical viewing, and you can develop it. You don't have to write functions. You can write several lines of code in one group and then run the group of code on it. So it makes it development and learning really easy in comparison.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the PyCharm is just. I mean, I used to use like different IDE to find the best one, and I really digged in this because I'm really on Python for like so long, and the only thing was really worked, and it's still working in the perfect way. It's just PyCharm, nothing more.
Well, I used the IDEA, the IntelliJ IDEA
Yeah.
difference. I used it when I had to learn Java for school.
Java.
That
Don't mention it. Don't mention it.
That was, and professor actually said either use Eclipse or IntelliJ IDEA. I was like, I'm gonna install IDEA right now because I can deal with Eclipse. And I was like the only one who used IDEA in the whole class.
We did
I
have
think
a
probably I'm gonna be the oldest developer in this chat. I tried the Eclipse since the version 1. I tried once. I never used that later. It was.
I used it for a little bit, but you know what tells you that IntelliJ IDEA is far better environment for using it. Even Google uses it for Android applications.
Hey guys, we got a question in the chat, and this is a good question because he was asking, BlackBerry in the chat is asking, does Vim have RTL support right to left? He's asking specifically about the Arabic language. And as far as I know, Vim can do right to left the languages,
I think there's a plugin for it.
But you have to, it's a hacky way to get it to work, though.
Yeah.
So do you guys have something better to recommend that supports
Nano?
Nano does right to left?
Yeah, it can.
Huh. Well, it's a good new project, so I guess those guys.
Nano reads your localization. So if your so if the system language is set to Arabic, it will read right to left.
Okay.
Also, ML terms just do that.
I don't think Vim does.
Vim with the ML term.
Ah.
Oh.
Okay. And before anybody asks, I haven't actually tried it in Emacs, so I don't know how Emacs handles those languages.
I tried. The Emacs is wonderful with the RTL.
I would expect it to be because, I mean, it.
Yeah, it is.
There was big news for Nano lately.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Huh.
There was big news. Nano saw a release.
Yeah,
Nano now
Really?
supports syntax highlighting.
Yeah, that was coming for a while because already people were leaving
It's
Nano for
finally
Micro.
here.
So yeah.
You know what that means?
Yikes.
You know what that means? I can
Let's go-
actually justify using Nano for my personal use case. Will I ever? No. But I can.
I can justify using Nano for the same use case I've been using it for a while. Editing configs. Now just those configs that will be written in known languages will have colors.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
but the coloring is
colors.
important.
Absolutely useless.
Yeah, I
I
had
can tell. I mean, I don't see why we need a color in the Nano
that's where
or
I was
Vim
about to
or
go.
Something like that.
I was about to go
I
the
don't get
same
it.
direction. It's in my video the other day about bad and cat. People were like, bad is bloat because it adds color. I was like, you serious? Like, what? Color is bloat now.
Yeah. Color is not because you have to do additional lines of code.
Oh,
You know-
yes. It's
you know,
so many lines of
because-
code to highlight the
You know,
search term
because
right for
our-
rip grip.
Our terabytes of hard drive storage will be
I mean-
filled by 37 megabytes.
Yeah.
If you really care about bloat, everything you should be installing on your system should come from suckless.org.
But they don't do core util
ironic,
kinds of
Many
things.
programs on your system will fill just as much space as any suckless application that is small. Anything that is smaller than I don't know what specific size is the same size of the disk, because disk is built of chunks, whereas it's SSD or hard drive that's because of the file system.
And this
It's built of chunks, and no matter how much how small program is, if it is smaller than the chunk size, it'll be on the drive. It'll fill that much space.
the problem with the suckless guys is I don't mind them saying something like, the GNOME terminal is bloat, use ST, because they have a terminal. But when you say things like the GNU core utils are bloated, but the suckless guys they don't have their own utils that you can replace.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's the option?
Oh,
Plan
don't they
9?
recommend using like the base 9 ones?
No, don't do that. They're not
Yeah.
usable.
Don't.
The suckless guys.
I had a replacement for GNU utils. I would use it, but I don't have a good replacement for it.
Yeah.
There are some specific tools that you can replace specific parts. Like, for example, don't use bash, use fish.
Yeah, but that's.
I use ZSH.
I mean, they're practically the same thing.
No,
I mean,
no.
really. I mean, it's not like there's a
Fish.
big difference between bash, ZSH, and fish. I mean, they're.
Between bash and fish, there is a lot of difference. Bash is
ZSH works with my bash scripts.
POSIX compliant, at least to a part.
Viv, your
it's
bash scripts work in fish too if you
plus.
execute them right.
While fish throws the POSIX compliance into the trash and does something
Yeah.
of its own accord. And that's what I like about fish.
I mean, people coming out with their own things and ignoring current compliances with their free and open source software. The sacrilege!
Yeah.
That's good thing they do.
The biggest
No, it's bad. It's terrible.
the biggest thing
POSIX
people
have been weighing down Linux for a while now.
I have a 20,000 line bash script. I cannot execute it in fish.
What the hell are you doing? You should run it. Please, at least write it in Python.
I was about to say
No!
it would be 500
If
lines
you're
of
gonna have
Python
to,
probably.
Please write it in Python. Look,
Okay,
I'm gonna
I-
have to say this, even though I might enrage my project lead.
Can I get
Please
my
do
elbow?
not write anything in Python that has more than anything
In
in
Bash.
Bash that has more than 100 lines.
I would
And
go.
My project lead made a game in
Yeah.
Bash.
I don't mind
I did.
500 lines or even 1,000, but if it's above 1,000 lines, you should not have written that in shell scripting.
You should know that Martin
No, I
Wingers
should not
wrote
have.
a
But at the
game
same-
in
Okay. So what
Bash.
this bash script does is it literally compiles Linux from scratch. That's what it does.
Python.
Well, that would
So-
explain why it's so long. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's so long.
Yeah.
So
Otherwise, there exists one AAA game in Python, in Bash. It's called Anti-Alien Attack, and it's written by Martin Repress.
That's a
I think I
AAA
have played
game.
that.
Wow.
So I did a comparison of Fish, Python, Bash, and New Shell and how they handle arithmetic in the terminal.
Mhm.
And along the way, I made an interesting discovery. Fish is the most comprehensive out of the box. You just say math
Yeah.
and then quote, and you got your expression. You can do square root and tan and floor and ceiling and all that stuff and floating point. Python is close, but you have to do some imports. You have to import math and import random to do stuff, and then it's comparable. New Shell has next to nothing. It's still an alpha, and it's just basic. Bash doesn't handle floating point, and its syntax, you can use either expr, which is a program that's not built in and slow. You can use let, which is faster, or you can do double parenthesis expression, double parenthesis on the other side. But the interesting thing I found was I wrote a bash function called math, so it looks like Fish's math, and you enter your expression, and inside you have a one-line statement that says Python-C quote print left parenthesis $1 right parenthesis quote, and it will execute Python to interpret that command you pass through to it. So you can run Python right in there, and
That is
in the bash C with the quotes, you can have more than one statement. You can have import from random import asterisk semicolon from math import asterisk semicolon. Then you can use the square root and randomization and all that stuff.
Okay.
But that's the first part. But the second part is even better. You can, instead of using Python -C, you could put a Python file name in there and then run a file from it. But instead of doing that, you can use a bash here document. So you, in place of the file, so you have Python 3 space left parenthesis, EOF is the keyword, and then put your Python code inline inside the bash script, and then EOF. So, and you can extend it. I did that, and I extended. I wrote a function called rand prime. So it will accept two numbers and generate a prime number between the two. So you can go into the bash and say math space quote rand prime left parenthesis $low comma $high right parenthesis, and where low and high are preset, and you can get a random prime number from the bash terminal, all just by embedding Python inline inside your bash function. I didn't know you could do that. So I found it in Stack Overflow.
Well, the big thing about what you said with Fish, why Fish is good at math, is because they specifically built Fish they knew the math and bash sucks, so that's why they specifically targeted that for Fish. That was one of the big things they wanted.
I always use the Fish with the Python. Yeah.
One of these days, I will give Fish a try. I'll be serious, but ZSH works as the better default shell.
You're gonna have some problems, like sometimes it just doesn't understand the terminal, the original terminal commands or combination of scripts. It just come up with some weird errors.
But the one thing I would recommend is don't set Fish as your default shell.
Yeah.
Just have your terminal always open and then execute Fish.
Yeah,
that's the way.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
There is
I want to put Fish in my bash RC
on this channel that will teach you a lesson about using Fish as a default. It works that video.
Yeah.
I know.
And a horrible time.
And I had some other issues with it, where like my BSPM config was written, I think I wrote it in bash. I specified the shebang for bash. And when I had Fish as my user default shell, no, I couldn't log into BSPWM anymore.
It's not breaking anything for you.
Right. So yeah, just leave bash as your default shell. Even if you never use it, have it set as your default shell.
I actually have a desktop file in /user/share/applications that basically has mate terminal run as Fish.
Yeah. And all my tiling window managers, the super enter key binding to bring up a terminal, it actually executes Alacrity-E Fish. So it always brings up Alacrity with Fish. Yeah, so that's...
Are we passing 2 hours?
We're getting pretty close, yeah. And
we got like another 12 minutes.
Yeah, and we'll probably get a last word from everybody here because it'll probably take us about 10 minutes to get through everybody. Anybody got anything else they want to briefly mention before we head out?
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's new shell terminal every 3 weeks. Like Conwork, they have a new release, and they had a major release 3 weeks ago. They now have variables and functions in them.
And I installed the new shell the other day when you mentioned that they had a new release. I've played with it before. I did a video on it a couple of years back, but I haven't looked at any of the recent versions until you mentioned it the other day. And I got to say, it's nice. Like, it's fast. I mean, it's not bad. Like, when I check out some of these alternative shells, sometimes, like I tried to play with Conch, which is the one that's written in Python, XONSH, and that thing was slow and buggy, and it's just not ready to actually be used for anything. But I like the new shell. The new shell's
about a year ago from October. It's still alpha state. They're changing alias syntax and things, so it's probably going to be another year and a bit before it's a version 1 release. But the quality of the code is really good.
It's just incredible. I mean, I just love ls---l. I mean, that ls command, is the columns and everything, and it's just so easy to grab the data you want and pipe it into something else. Did
you try? I've got a app image called LL on that. I think I mentioned it before. Did you try downloading it?
For LL? No, I didn't.
Let me see.
Give me just a second, guys. I broke the stream. All right.
It's gitlab.com/Shay Murray/LL, I think.
Mm-hmm.
GitLab. Okay, let me get back to. So I definitely, yeah, that's it. LL list files and folders. Yeah, I'm gonna bookmark that. Yeah,
and it lets you run the new shell list command without having new shell installed on your machine. It has new shell inside the app image, and then it customizes that. So you don't need to install new shell to run it.
I did link the GitHub page for new shell in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, people are asking about new shell. For those of you on Arch, the new shell is in the AUR, I believe. Yeah, just for those of you that still have Yay, I'll do it for Yay.
If you're using Fedora Rawhide, it's in the DNF repo.
No. And to run the new shell, it's not actually new shell, just NU. When you finally have it installed, just type NU and hit enter, and you'll switch over from bash over to the new shell. Don't set the new shell as your user default shell either. That's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually played with that too as the default shell. It breaks things. I one time set tmux as my default shell one time too, just to see what would happen. That was a bad experience.
ZSH works as a default shell.
Shouldn't be set as.
And of course, it's written in Rust.
Of course.
Problem with setting something that's not POSIX compliant, the shell is a problem because a lot of things depend on it being POSIX compliant. That's a great example why everything should be statically linked, or at least with the right beside the application. Like for example, again, like with bat and cat.
Yeah.
If your application if your script requires cat, have cat right beside your script.
You're going to have cat there anyway, even if you use bat. You're not going to uninstall the GNU core utils. You can't, right? You can't. I mean,
you might have in your batch, you might have it set to execute a bash alias.
Right.
Cat equals bat.
Yeah, you
hey guys, I have a topic. For the next month.
All right.
With bat.
If you can just do some research on some open source hardwares. I already did some research about the PowerX platforms, which came from the IBM, Leon, and some new ARM. I'm seeing like good things coming in the horizon, like for like a year or two from now. I already think that we can just assemble a platform with the IBM X and Gigabyte, my main board, like around $5,000 as a workstation computer in your home. But it's just let's do some research on the open source hardware.
I don't see future in open source hardware anyway. So
yeah, backing up with the IBM and ARM. I mean, myself.
That's not open hardware.
Get the System 76.
Grab that thing before I come to your hardware.
I'm sorry, I haven't received my Purism laptop yet.
Yeah, that one is either not open source. But what I'm thinking is just having an ARM-based PC, which is coming in the horizon, and also IBM PowerX CPUs, 10th generation and 11th generation, gonna be open source platform. So I'm seeing that there is some movement with the hardware.
Yeah,
it's fun.
No future in for most.
The future of open source hardware literally rides on RISC-V.
I would say that as well. Yeah.
Future and for most, I see future just in embedded systems.
Yeah, maybe like in the ARM and embedded system. Yeah, I agree.
Embedded systems, whether it be.
But let's do some more digging. I mean, in the upcoming computer shows, I saw, and the current one, I saw some really great movement. You know, with the ARM, with the PowerX and Open PowerX CPUs, with the Leon, with the different like with the Z CPU even. I think there are some good movements.
For example, I know systems that use open hardware. For example, open.
It's like 90% open.
You know the spaceship called Dragon 2 Crew, made by SpaceX, uses Power CPU.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the Power CPU with the Gigabyte. I think there's a Gigabyte one single Gigabyte mainboard which has come to support the PowerX.
SpaceX probably made everything in house. That's probability.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like I throw it out. So if you're just interested, we can have some.
Well, I tell you what,
conversation later.
we'll definitely keep an eye on it. I'm interested in open hardware once we have something that's actually viable that'll actually run what we want to run as far as the software and the operating systems we want to run.
If we have
ARM
something I can buy,
ARM can, and that's about it. A risky.
It's not there yet. Yeah, it's not there yet.
The ARM PCs?
Platform.
No, the real.
No, you actually can.
Yeah.
The ARM PC you can build it yourself. I mean.
Yeah.
It's more even powerful. No, not that one.
It's a PC.
Put that down.
No, it's not a PC.
Put that down.
It is a PC.
No, it's not.
It's not a real PC.
What is that?
That's a phone. That's his Android phone.
like what Apple did with the CPU of the laptop right now. They are ARM CPUs.
Yeah,
what I'm saying about the ARM CPUs, they are platform like as big as your hand as a CPU. So it's just in the server side and in the workstation side right now. You can see
servers.
There's like huge ARM CPUs in the server side, which is beating the Xeon.
If you want to watch an innovative company that's pushing ARM products, look up Cobol. Kobol. It's a relatively new company. It's one of those Kickstarter companies, so I don't really know how long they're going to be sticking around. But they've come out with like a desktop NAS so far. That's ARM based.
I don't like Kickstarter things.
Yeah.
I mean, that may or may not work.
Actually, Amazon has their own CPU as well, based on called Graviton, and they use it mainly for storage solutions. But that's about it.
I'm just saying this as like there are companies coming out that are like really looking at like ARM devices.
Yo, you already know that Apple is using that.
If you wanna get a server ARM CPU, check out Cavium.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that the desktop side, like right now, the Apple using the laptop with the ARM CPU, and also Microsoft, the next generation Microsoft, all of the computer from the Microsoft gonna be ARM too. So
no, not yet.
The next generation gonna be.
No, Microsoft is building their own CPU, but it will be used in Azure. That's but in future, yes, in couple of years, yes, there will be ARM CPUs in some of their Surface devices. But now, for the next few generations, their Surface devices won't be ARM based.
All right, guys. Well, we're coming up at the end of 2 hours here.
Those are really crap.
The Pro X family is gonna get the ARM. That's what I confirmed. I have confirmation on the Microsoft one.
Well, I think once there's some viable devices out there, I mean, obviously the crowd here, all of us would probably buy them as soon as they're available. As soon as
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, but the problem is we don't make up much of the market. I mean, we don't matter at the end of the day.
It took me 10 years to buy a smartphone.
Yeah, we don't.
Anyway.
Well, let's get a last word from everybody here.
That's the usage.
Handsome Boy. I don't know if Handsome Boy has a microphone hooked up or not. He hasn't spoken. Do you have anything to say as we get a last word from everybody on our way out? I don't think he may not be there, and that's fine if you don't want to speak or don't have a mic hooked up. Thanks for hanging out with us anyway. Josh, you got anything to say on our way out? Not about JavaScript.
Not about JavaScript?
Yeah, not about JavaScript.
Windows.
Okay.
Well.
Or Windows.
Okay. Can't do Windows? Okay. So, just remember the best user experience you could possibly buy that works out of the box is sold to you by Apple.
No.
But
come on.
But
There's no box.
I knew he was
don't
going
buy
there.
Apple.
Don't buy Apple.
Learn to hate yourself and actually do something.
Right to repair, right? I mean, that's an important movement. Don't buy Apple. Yeah.
Best user experience out of the box is probably Surface. Even though
Surface?
the best user experience with Surface you get when you install Linux on it.
Oh, he went with Surface. Well,
it's better than Apple.
You guys got jokes today.
That's the only thing. And it's Microsoft.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Josh Murray. You got something better to say as a last word?
Well, I'm always impressed by everyone's breadth of knowledge. It's quite humbling, actually, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to talk with people with a common interest, and looking forward to doing it again. And thank you, guys.
Thank you, Murray. Thank you for being the voice of reason, too, and not bringing up Mac or Surface. All right, Big Pod.
Remember, knowledge is power, but using it wisely is the key.
And who said that?
That's
A wise
what
man,
Francis Bacon.
big pot.
Yeah,
Francis Bacon said the first part.
Francis
the second
Bacon.
part
Okay.
I heard in a game.
All right.
The second part, using it wisely is the key. I heard in a video game.
Oh, all right. Hamid.
Well, I really wish for all of us, the Linux community, to see the day that we are really riding some really free open source hardware and software, and enjoy our privacy and owning our own hardware and software. I'm sure that this day is going to come soon. So
I think
hang out.
It's already here.
We're making inroads in that. I mean, it's getting better already. So
yeah, of course.
It's not getting there as fast as you want it, and that can be frustrating. But we're heading in the right direction. For sure.
Yeah, we need some contribution from the communities, and it's going to be fine soon.
I mean, so many people now are looking at alternatives to HTTP, for example, for web protocols.
Yeah.
Like people are starting to explore.
I know the alternative to HTTPS.
Well, there are alternatives to that as well, right? Because that's not. But we'll get into that.
It's cute.
We'll get into that on the next one.
Q, whatever. I don't know. It's a new protocol.
There's like a dozen new protocols people are working on.
No protocol will work, believe me.
Oh yes,
because there is too much on HTTP, or more specifically HTTPS, to actually replace enough that it will be worth for people.
I refuse to believe that we can replace it. We can replace
we can.
What will you gain? What will you gain? It's the reality. What will you gain? Tell me.
Tor is the future.
What will we gain? A web that is not completely, totally dominated by Google. And that's what we'll gain, basically.
Reality is, depending on what will be the language used, it will be, at start it will probably be HTML, hypertext transfer protocol, hypertext markup.
Right.
And then that's controlled right now by Google.
No.
I mean, here before long, people are going to be programming websites in Rust.
Yeah.
So whatever.
No, because you need a markup language.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to explore that topic on the next patrons chat.
Yeah,
I'm going to write that one down, and I promise you, we're going to get into that because that's an interesting one there. My last word, of course, is to thank everybody that was here. We had several people that were here earlier in the chat that had to leave, so thank all of you guys for hanging out. The patrons that could not be here, I also need to thank. I'm going to throw some names on the screen here. I want to thank all these folks here. These are all the patrons, some of them that were here earlier, some of them that couldn't make it today. And of course, I do want to thank all the folks that are hanging out in the YouTube chat. Your questions and comments from the chat were really good too today. So many times the YouTube chat is just full of asinine comments. Not today. Today they had some good stuff. So thank you guys. All right, guys. Well, let's get out of here.
Okay,
so
guys.
wave bye to the YouTube.
Nice to meet y'all.
Bye.
Yeah, next time we meet, I'll be on open.